stage, on stage with Jim and Tom. On stage, on stage with Jim and Tom. On stage with Jim and Tom. On stage with Jim and Tom. Tom and Jim.
Tonight, we welcome Everyone is Dirty to the stage of the Phoenix Theater. They describe themselves as Art Rock City with sex and violins, and they add to that description with, and I quote, Brian Eno and Blondie are fucking on VHS. Tonight, we'll get to know them, and later they'll play some music. Please welcome to the program, Everyone is Dirty.
Welcome.
Hello.
Let's start with your most recent full-length, My Neon's Dead. We'll just jump right in. This album came about during a transformative moment for you, and also for this band because you were at the center of this band. Could you tell us about that period?
Well, yes. So that period was really dark because I was sick, really sick. I had an allergy to penicillin, to a form of penicillin called Augmentin, which probably has the same thing as a lot of other antibiotics in it, but that just happened to be the one that I was taking, and I took it. I didn't know I was allergic to it, and the doctor who prescribed it to me for like a cold, it was in December, and when I first started getting sick, and I had been taking the medicine for like 3 rounds. I took it 3 rounds. They gave it to me, three rounds of it, and then my liver failed. So after 2 rounds, so it was like, I had 1 round of it, and then I didn't get better for like a month or 2, and then I had another round, and then the last round was prescribed over the phone. And I was really asleep at the wheel in terms of thinking about what antibiotics can mean, what it means to take antibiotics, what it means to take medicine, and what it means to go to the doctor and just expect that when you're going to the doctor that you're going to leave with medicine and that it just does not, it can't hurt you. Like, I mean, I never imagined that taking medicine could hurt me that much.
You wrote that you spent months in the hospital floating above your body on a Dilaudid drip. And so that is kind of where this album came from.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. So you're floating above it, and from that perspective, from what you were feeling, you kind of basically like collected some of those experiences and put them into this album?
Yeah, well, so, yeah. And Dilaudid is another medicine. It's an opiate, a heavy opiate that I was being given, in an infusion, like in my arm. I was being given it, which is basically kind of like being given heroin, only you're being given it like by someone who's telling you that it's great that you're taking it, and you're being like taken care of and given drugs, that are very strong and feel good, so that while my liver is failing and I'm like dying, I'm also not even really feeling like I'm dying. I feel like good somehow. Yeah.
And so San Andreas in particular is a song on this album that touches on kind of like what you learned from this experience personally. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, that song actually, so the album kind of like starts out with like that song, which is more carefree. It's like, you're not in the hospital yet. You're at a party, you're like standing on the balcony, like taking a drink, not thinking about anything, and just coasting. So, but there's a darkness looming.
Yeah, you had written about that song that that song's a reminder for you to focus on the ride and love, and to try and practice acceptance, to try laughing instead of holding on to poisonous anger.
Yeah, and I mean, like, lyrically, like, I definitely write all the lyrics, but music is, I mean, and I'm really down to talk about the lyrics and talk about what I was thinking when I wrote these, like, poems. But I mean, music is so much more than just those words, and, that part of it is definitely a team effort.
Absolutely, and I think you touch on things on the album that we've all experienced in one way or another.
But so the narrative, I mean,
please,
sorry.
no, please, I would love it.
Well, so San Andreas is like the happy moments that you have. It starts out like everything, like just walking along, having fun, enjoying life, and then Silver and White is about meeting your best friend and going, so you're not alone anymore. And then My Neon's Dead takes you into the hospital. And then there's like some little interludes.
And what does My Neon's Dead mean? Like,
I mean,
like
what does it sound like it means?
Like your neon was like the glow that you had? Yeah.
It's time to recharge the neon.
Yeah. Because you could have died, right? I mean that's a profound experience.
It is.
And a profound thing to like make a piece of art around. Not everybody has that.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, like, I have to live with that, like, going down forever. Like, you go there and then you don't come back the same.
And this album is, it's a reflection of that.
So, 3D Light then is 3D Light. And, 3D Light is like, and I mean, we wrote a lot of these tunes together, me and Chris, we wrote a lot of these tunes together. And it's funny because he also had an illness, a near-death experience, illness twice. And he can share that, but we share that. And
2-time cancer survivor.
Yeah, and because we both went through that, like, and we were both like in the hospital by each other's sides, we both like experienced that close to death feeling that isn't just like a moment of close to death. It's like you're living in that for months, and you're like living in the hospital, and then you come out of it, and like I feel like both of us don't really we don't live life like, oh, nothing bad has ever happened to me, and like sort of you can play with your life because nothing bad's happened to you. I know that feeling. I remember that feeling of like getting in the car and playing with your life like it's a video game or and now I feel like I still play with my life, but it comes from a place of knowing what it would be like to go back, knowing that, and sometimes almost hoping that like I would go back, because once you go there into the hospital and you give your body up, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to take care of yourself anymore. You have nurses taking care of you. You don't have to eat. You don't have to drink. You don't have to do anything for yourself. And there's almost like a weird feeling that gave me, that almost like there's a hole there now because of that like I almost always hope, and I remember that feeling.
Yeah, that's a really weird way to look at it. So people go through life hoping that they're going to become extremely wealthy, so all of their needs will be taken care of by somebody else. They can live comfortably and be taken care of. You found, in your experience, another way to do what the American dream
crazy.
Sometimes is.
Yeah, that's really, really weird and crazy to think about it that way.
Yeah.
I've succeeded.
Yeah. Wow.
And to clarify, like, do you mean that like there's almost something weirdly, I don't know how to say it, because life is a struggle sometimes. Sometimes you wake up in the morning and you just would rather not. And when you're in that state, it's almost like, I guess the journey's almost over. I mean, is that kind of what you're getting at in terms of?
Well, it's like the journey has come to a place where it's not really a journey anymore. It's a state, and the state is floating because you're drugged with like a heroin-esque opiate, and time goes by in this really abstract away.
Dreamlike
Yeah.
situation. It probably at some points didn't feel, well, most points probably didn't feel like real life when
Not
you were
at all.
floating there.
No. So After Lady Liberty is a song that's a sketch of a song that we're going to release,
Yeah.
which was called Journeyman Plumber, and that's going to be a whole album. Journeyman Plumber. Yeah, that one's going to be an album about a guy who it's about work, the situation of work. And so then after that sketch is Window Eye. And Window Eye is that one is a song that is inspired by a book, by the last paragraph of a book, Arthur Gordon Pym. Yeah.
What's the name of the book?
Arthur Gordon Pym.
Oh, that's not the author.
No, the author's Edgar Allan Poe.
The narrative,
it is Edgar Allan
of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket.
Yes.
There you
And
go.
why was that significant?
Well, I'm drawn to books about water journeys, and it's a really good little novella about a kid who becomes a stowaway on a boat, and at the end he's like, they've gone through so much really exciting stuff. And
Actually, but I think that's known to be one of Poe's most gruesome tales, actually, isn't it?
no, it's
No.
well, I don't know, maybe, but I don't think so. It's also written in a diary style, so that's cool too. It's like journal entries.
Did it speak to you and your experience, or it just is a piece of literature that you like?
Oh my gosh, both.
Yeah.
I mean, it speaks to me because it's an escape. It's a beautiful escape to read a book about a water, a ship journey. Like the other another ship journey song is the Wishing Song.
Yeah, which is a new song, and we'll definitely come back to that.
Yeah.
Chris, you had your experience. It seems like you both were shaped by these experiences. I'd love to hear from you as to how it affected you and how it changed you.
Well, I mean, I would just say that, when I was first diagnosed, I was 29, and I actually had a recording studio on a Hunters Point Naval Shipyard, which is a super fun site.
Yeah.
And I was 29, and it was, I'd spent 5 years. I'd spent 60 hours a week there because, it was my business, and I was also playing in bands, and it was really cheap, raw space that a lot of artists would rent, if you were lucky, quote unquote, because it was so cheap, and so everyone wanted a space out there. So when I got one, and it was part of this building that used to be a submarine training facility, I started in this small room, and then this humongous whole bottom half of this building became available, and I was like, oh great, I can have 2,500 square feet of space for it was like $1,200 a month, which was insane, and I took it, and then I got sick. I felt a lump one day under my neck, and I was 29, so I didn't go immediately and get it checked out. I didn't have insurance, and so one day I finally was like, I got to go and see what this is, and they told me I had cancer. And ironically, I didn't have insurance then. I had insurance the second time when it happened 10 years later. The first time, the whole thing cost me about $3,500, and I was at San Francisco General, and it was like a UCSF training facility. So my doctors were, basically these kind of badasses. The second time, even though I love my doctor, he's still my doctor, but I had insurance, and it was like a $60,000. I have so much debt, it's crazy. It's it's not even, I don't even care about it, actually, to be honest. It's just such an imaginary number that's never, I'm just like, okay, sweet. So, but I actually think that the thing that, when Sivan was just talking right now, because every time I think it sort of brings up a little something different, or you're reminded of something. is just like the experience of having been on like kind of like both sides of it. So, there is kind of a safety when you're sick. Like, there's this thing when you're in the hospital and like people are taking care of you and you are getting like opiates or whatever, and you're kind of floating and you're, and people are, it's like surreal. People come in, they do things to you, and you've just sort of like given up. You're just kind of like, I'm not giving up on life, but just you're giving your body over to like whatever people, do whatever you need to do, so you're just kind of a vessel. And so there's a weird comfort in that. There's like a weird sort of like, I'm being taken care of and I don't have to think about it, And then on the other side of that, like when you're the caretaker, you're just like, it is so fucking stressful, because you're like having to write down everything that's going on and you're keeping track of all the medications and you're like researching what all the doctors say and you're like fighting, you have to be a big advocate. And it's like, your infusion is done and the thing starts beeping in the machine in your room and then you have to like call the nurse and you got to get the nurse in. And it's like, it just becomes this thing where like you are just like like you just are like this hyper aware person of everything that's going on. And you have no choice but to be that, And so, we kind of traded roles. Like I got sick, pretty soon after we started living together. And then, a few years later, Sivan got ill. And it was, so it was just kind of nuts. Because, like, as soon as I, like, felt strong and we were like, okay, let's go. We can do this now. We can live life. Then it was like, oh, shit. No, we got to take another pause here.
How did it affect your creativity and music life?
Well, the first time around, it really sort of, like, it sunk me. I kind of, like, just came out of it and... I had never tried cocaine before that. I tried cocaine afterwards, and I was like, okay, I love cocaine now. I'm a cancer survivor. And I had a pretty bad drug problem for a little while. And I just sort of was just like, who cares? Like, it was kind of like a thing, like some people come out of it and they're like, oh my God, every day is a gift, And I was just like, fuck that. Like, I'm so scared. I'm just going to, keep making bad decisions. Yeah, exactly. Just numb myself out, really. But then the second, after the second time, it was a much different experience because I had met Sivan and music had actually come back into my life. And so, actually it it's weird to say, like being like sort of happy for, like the way things worked out or whatever. But I mean, she stood by my side. The first time I went through it, I actually lost a lot of people and I lost a wife and I lost a lot of things the first time because, people just didn't, people left. They left or they couldn't take it or, they just didn't know how to deal with it or whatever. And it just, I was pretty alone after the first time. And then the second time to kind of come out of it, like, and be like, oh my God, like, I still have you and we still have our home and we still have, this band and music that we connected to so much. It was actually, it was just the opposite. It kind of just like shot me the other direction. Now, health-wise, I mean, it's not like I'm like, again, like I don't think every day that it's a miracle to be alive today, or anything like that. But I do feel very grateful that I am alive and I do want to keep living,
So we probably won't revisit that because that was tough to talk about and I really appreciate you talking about it. Is there anything else that you'd want to say about that? Because it just seems like so defining for individually as a couple and also this band. It just is like such a profound experience you went through.
I really desperately want to be able to like be free and connect with people about it. At the same time, like it's difficult to share, but I really want to somehow like find freedom in connecting with people around like things that bring shame, like, depression, things that you carry that you don't really want to bring out into the open. I think I just want that to be okay. But like I don't want to misrepresent our group, and we are not just sitting around like crying into our microphones.
No, this is a well-balanced group. They love dogs. They, there's some depression sometimes, but also
we joke around a lot.
joke around as well. You sent me a whole list of
play
things. 2014 release, Dying is Fun. What's that album about?
So that was a lesson in speaking to, there's a saying like, don't speak to the devil or something, or like, don't speak into the face of the devil. I don't know. I come from like a Jewish family, and they're not American. My parents are half Jewish, but my parents are not American, and so they speak in ways that are not, they don't sound, like, don't speak into the devil's face, something like that. And I guess I did speak into the devil's face when we decided to call this album Dying is Fun, because I hadn't experienced dying yet, and it was in 2015, at the end of 2015. No, in 2015 that I experienced that. And I feel like, why did I call that album Dying is Fun? Like, what was I calling out of the universe?
Okay, so this album was put out before your hospitalization.
Yeah.
What a wild thing.
It's a wild thing.
And so you obviously didn't, I don't think, know what was to come.
No, I had no idea. How was I ever supposed to? How could I possibly know that I would be allergic to an antibiotic and my liver would fail?
Your parents' superstition kind of was correct.
There's a lot of superstition in my family.
Yeah, of course.
My father, he's Turkish, and he says, and he can't leave a shoe flipped over. If the shoe is flipped over, then it's bad luck. So I always flip my shoes, and you got to put the right shoe on first. There are many superstitions. Chris and I have superstition in common. He won't allow a hat on a bed, and he gets like actually really upset at me, and I'm like, how can you get mad at me for that? Like, really mad.
Just watch Drugstore Cowboy and you'll understand why.
He gets his superstition from movies.
I just want to comment on Dying is Fun, and that is.
May I please, really quickly, because this is really important. I'd never heard of that that superstition before, and according to this website, howstuffworks.com, although the exact origins of this superstition are lost history, it is believed to have started because people thought evil spirits lived in the hair. And most likely, these evil spirits were actually static buildup. That was why they thought that. Anyway, as people went indoors and removed their hats, the static electricity in their hair popped and crackled, a reaction attributed to the spirits that lurked among their locks and in their hats. By laying a hat on the bed, those same evil spirits would transfer onto the very place where they'd lay their heads at night.
See?
Told you.
Told you so.
But did you know that in some Jewish families, leaving a hat on a bed was believed to portend death in the household that owned the bed?
What does portend mean?
It predicts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So leaving a hat on a bed can mean...
It can almost lead to the...
That's true. See, and that's another thing about the coming back from that is there's a whole... I feel like I have a different relationship now with like superstitions than I did before. Because
in
I don't
what
know.
way? You actually are paying more attention to them, or you're not letting them...
I'm not sure. Still.
They're still there.
Yeah, they're still there.
And I'm sorry I interrupted you.
Oh, no. I was going to say, though, that I really feel like Dying is Fun, like that name sort of happened because we had just come out of my 6 months in the hospital, and we had done things like, we had like danced in the hallways, of the cancer ward, and we had just, we were just like trying to like make that thing like as much like our thing as possible. We weren't gonna like sort of like stop, doing what we did. I mean, a lot of things you have to stop just because you have to, or whatever, you're feeling sick and blah, blah, blah. But it was sort of like, I thought it was sort of like, okay, so you're sick. But that doesn't mean that you can't, like, still enjoy stuff and, like, still try to make something special out of it or some, just, we're all dying. Like as soon as you're born, you're quote unquote dying. I mean, you're going there, and so it's like, you gotta make it fun.
Might as well have some fun.
Well, I mean, now I believe like that's all you should fucking care about. Really, is having as much fun as you possibly can, because, it's so
Time is
ridiculous.
finite.
It's so ridiculous. Yeah, such a ridiculous thing.
Life, you mean?
Yes,
That has been your takeaway from
it's
the experience.
absurd. Yeah.
You mentioned the Wishing song. That's the newest Everyone is Dirty song that's been put out properly recorded.
And it's the first one that it's the first recording that is coming out, that has come out, or it hasn't really officially come out yet. We have it on our Bandcamp right now, but it's still like kind of a secret that it's there, that Jake is on. Jake.
Welcome, Jake, at the
Yes.
table. This song was inspired by 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I must ask, how?
So there's a character in that book who is the first mate. So there's this guy who's out searching for this mysterious monster. They think it's this giant monster. Have you guys read the book?
I haven't read the book, but
What?
no, yeah, I didn't read.
You're
Yeah,
supposed to be the one that reads all the books.
yeah, no, it's true.
Well, it's really, really good. And so anyway, this monster in the ocean, they think it's a monster.
Yeah,
And they discover it's actually not a monster.
it's a ship.
It's a ship.
Well, see, the reason I never read it is because I was ruined by the movie. As a kid, I saw the Disney movie. Once I see a movie first, I can't get through the book, and it ruined it for me. I agree. I'm sorry that I did.
So there's this character who is the first mate, and he's recruited from New York. They leave from New York. This ship leaves from New York, and all these people are recruited, and he leaves his wife in New York, and they end up out on the sea, and they're just encountering the most magical, weird things, like just beautiful miracles that happen, like just beautiful things that happen out at sea. Sunsets, like giant schools of fish, animals, things that are really remarkable. And so the main character is experiencing all these things, and he's enjoying them, and this first mate can't enjoy them because he's totally he's just heart sick over missing his wife and his life back home. So he just can't, he can't do it to such a degree that he ends up not making it. He doesn't survive because he just can't be there. He can't be in the moment. And that's what the song's about.
That whole idea behind that song, and that idea of him not being able to experience that moment and ultimately dying, is, I think, how a lot of people spend a lot of their lives. And I think that's why it's a poignant thing to zero in on for the song. And again, not to bring it back to your health troubles, but I mean, moments like that give us a sense of clarity of like, boy, I really should kind of enjoy the moment, shouldn't I? Because it's not going to be here forever. But yeah,
don't miss what you don't have. Or, whatever. Don't not see things because you're missing something.
Yeah. No, I mean, we don't need to list it off here, but like, I bet all of us could think of times in our life where we have just like missed large chunks because our mind was elsewhere. Or our feelings were elsewhere.
That happens to me when I watch TV.
Yeah. But that's different though. That's different. I mean, a lot of the time it's like when you're heartsick, or you miss family. Heartsick, I think, is where it really comes in though. You wish it could have gone differently, and then you just can't enjoy all the good stuff that's in front of you. Or you can't accept like the love that's around you because you want a very narrow type of love. And I just think that's like so many people's emotional story a lot of the time.
It is.
I don't know if that resonates with the songwriters, but that song touches me in that way.
Oh, that's great to hear. I agree, and I just want to say something about Sivan's lyric writing though too, and that is that, a lot of times we'll write music and we'll have these like little musical vignettes and things, and we'll sort of talk about what they're about or talk about what's happening, and like I think that Sivan is like she's able to kind of bring all these sort of like incredible experiences and books and things that she has into the music, And I'm always amazed at how, just how rich this stuff is drawn from. And I just wanted to tell you that, like, that I love your lyrics so much.
Thanks.
I don't know if we tell you that enough. I tell you that enough.
Aw, thanks.
But I love your lyrics.
Gee, thanks.
You write the poetry, and everybody else at the table amplifies that and
Fills
creates
a
the
really
mood and
lovely
fills it out. And,
Exactly.
and the
or like-
poetry is wonderful, but it would reach a lot less people if it was just written down and posted online. I mean,
Totally.
making it music together is what allows you to really highlight all the stuff, all the work that you do.
Mhm.
And this is the group you do it with.
Yeah.
And I would say, Siobhan, I don't know if you agree with this, but you mentioned that 3 years later, sometimes you feel strange that you still are thinking about that thing. And it just feels to me, just sitting here, that this band is like part of the healing process. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but you can explore what you're feeling and get it out, and maybe increment by increment get closer to feeling right.
Definitely. And yeah, and these are my friends, and they stand by my side. So
And that's all a tincture.
yeah, and I just made a tincture. I just made a beautiful tincture that is doesn't even have decarboxylated cannabis in it. It's all raw, so the tincture is green, and it doesn't even make you high. It's like it has all these beautiful antioxidants and things in it, and it's this crazy green color, which is the most fun thing about it. Is that you take this tincture that's just so green, and it's like you're putting like a season in your mouth, It's really cool.
I spent some time with this band's music before tonight, and this interview has given me like a real appreciation for the poetry that you do. I mean, you all make the music together, but it starts with the poems that you write, and it's very beautiful, and I really appreciate the vulnerability and just the realness. So thank you. It's very beautiful.
Thank
And
you.
speaking of that, everybody should stick around because a performance by Everyone is Dirty is next. Thanks again for joining us, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Xiola, where you been? I've been right here listening. You're not easy to find. Pulled out records from the shelf. I wanna dance here by myself. Who's stopping you? Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Blindfold made of a beautiful thing. Forget the one you left behind. Xiola, put it out of your mind. I know you're easily convinced. That's why I follow you around. Xiola, where's your conscience? Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Don't need to know. Don't need to know.
inside. I can't deny we're on a ride. So call my name again, ghost of Nia. Up inside the trees, the raccoons hide without a care. They're hungry with their stares, and I'll hide too. Antlers
from a watch. Gold chain used to wait for my touch. Now I can't find gold chain anywhere. Now I can't speak his name. He's always near. Gold chain. Gold chain. Gold chain. Gold chain. Wire wrist used to bleed from a cut. Wire wrist used to beg for my touch. Now I can't find white wrist anywhere. Now I can't speak her name. She's always near. White wrist. White wrist. White wrist. Has anybody seen my bed around the fire? She must be crazy. Has anybody seen my bed around the fire? She must be crazy. Around the fire, she must be crazy. White wrist, gold chain. Gold chain used to hang from a watch. Gold chain used to wait for my touch. Now I can't find gold chain anywhere. Now I can't speak his name. He's always near. Gold